Tonight, police once again to search remote bushland for any trace of a missing Adelaide man. And a bit of good news in the level of lead in the blood of Port Pirie's youngest residents.
This is Southern Cross News with Fraser Goldsworthy.
Good evening. Police are set to conduct yet another search for missing Adelaide man Scott Redman near Kimber. Redman hasn't been seen or heard from in more than a month. John Hunt has more.
It's a case that's baffled officers in Adelaide and here in Whyalla. Where is Scott Redman? He's alleged to have been involved in a car chase just outside of town over a month ago, and police are desperate to find him, fearing for his welfare. The 19-year-old was believed to have been involved in a pursuit which occurred outside Kimber on Saturday, April 21, which was terminated when the vehicle turned onto a dirt road. 2 days later, his accomplice was arrested in Whyalla, and the car, a black SUV, was found at Secret Rocks about 40 k's east of Kimber. But Redman wasn't found and is yet to make contact with family. While it's understood he talked about travelling to Western Australia, there's no proof he undertook that journey. Police undertook a major search earlier this month around where the car was discovered, but uncovered nothing. They're returning tomorrow to the area for another major search operation. Local police will be joined by Star Group officers, as well as SES and CFS volunteers, as they try to solve this mystery. Police declined to comment on camera today, but in a statement said their investigation was still continuing. They say they've conducted numerous searches, along with issuing a public appeal and talking to drivers who were in the area. Police have also once again appealed to Scott Redman to make contact with them and his family. They say while he was sought by police prior to his disappearance, their main concern for him at this time is his well-being and safety.
John Hunt reporting there. Port Augusta police have arrested 2 men following a break-in at a local hotel early this morning. Officers responded to an alarm at the Stirling Road business at around 2 a.m, and when they arrived, they say 2 men were fleeing the scene. A 36-year-old was arrested nearby, while his 33-year-old accomplice was found shortly after. The pair was remanded in custody until early next month. The results are in from the latest blood lead level tests of children living in Port Pirie, and it's good news. A slight decrease has been recorded, with the Health Department hoping the Near Star redevelopment will continue to see the number drop.
Over 200 children were tested in the first 3 months of this year, and the results are quite pleasing. The average decreased by 0.1 micrograms per decilitre.
The average blood lead level is the geometric mean, and it's 4.6 microgram per decilitre.
51% of the children tested had levels of 5 micrograms per decilitre or below, making it an improvement of 1.2% since last year and a 9.5% improvement since 2009. The average blood lead level for 2-year-olds has also seen a drop.
The difference between this quarter and the last quarter is a very small amount, that it's improved by 0.1 microgram per decilitre. So our children are now approximately 4.9 microgram per decilitre.
But the small number of children who did report an extremely high number of lead has increased by 1. SA Health says it'll work closely with the families to help reduce their lead exposure.
The fact that we have 5 children above 20 in this quarter compared with 4 last year is not a concern in and of itself.
But with only a quarter of the children in Port Pirie tested so far this year, the department remains cautious about what the end of the year results may look like. It says it's expecting small and continuous improvements as smelter emissions begin to stabilise once the upgraded smelter is fully operational.
That tells us that there has been a slight improvement in terms of the exposure of our children to lead, but it is early days yet.
Rachel Nell, Southern Cross News.
Whyalla Council's annual budget will go out for public consultation after being approved. Council voted unanimously to slash a rate rise from 5% to 2.5%, but the CEO says services won't be affected.
After a week's delay, Council's budget is finally ready for publication. Council formalised it at a special meeting last night, with a proposed 5% rate increase now just 2.5%. To make up the shortfall, 3 management positions won't be filled this year.
And after much debate, they're very clear about that. There were some areas they didn't want to compromise on.
The unanimous decision came after a spirited debate about what the rate rise should look like.
We can't afford to sit back and hope that things turn for us while we're effectively giving a rate break.
It gives investment in diversification of industry.
In terms of spending, there'll be a $3.7 million program to improve our road network. Money will go towards road renewal, new footpaths and improved stormwater drainage on McLennan Avenue and the Lincoln Highway. And the Marina breakwater will be refreshed at a cost of $136,000.
For the growth that we are pushing and driving for. So we've got to present this city in the best possible light.
There's also $120,000 set aside for a citywide Wi-Fi network.
Offer public Wi-Fi across our whole city ultimately, and we believe that's how Whyalla can differentiate itself.
John Hunt, Southern Cross News.
Regional South Australia is being equipped with critical health resources through an extensive rollout of a free suicide prevention course. The program is designed to provide the public with 3 simple steps to reduce the number of people taking their own lives.
On average, nearly 3,000 Australians take their lives every year, and Country SA wants to empower locals to help decrease that frightful figure.
The training program is called QPR, Question, Persuade, Refer, and it came out of a deep evidence dive that we've had under the National Suicide Prevention Trial.
Country SA PHN held a community consultation to see what health services could be improved in the region.
And of that, 68% of the people said they wanted more training and access to awareness around suicide prevention and what role they could play.
Since it began 4 weeks ago, more than 300 people have completed the online course.
People can do it in the anonymity of their own home. Workplaces are jumping on board.
It's critically important that majority of us all take a bit of involvement, a bit of awareness around suicide and what it can mean for communities, what it can mean for workplace and what it can mean for families.
Figures show many instances of mental illnesses arise from either the workplace or social circles. So this training gives anyone the knowledge to have those conversations and recognise risk. The growing need for frontline mental health services like QPR has been given a big boost. The federal government announcing last week it will invest $47 million into similar programs nationwide. More information is on our Facebook page. Garth Burley, Southern Cross News.
After the break, a young Broken Hill resident takes the reins of a local cafe. That story next. An overnight downpour in Broken Hill has caused a major delay to roadworks. The upgrade of the Chloride and Williams Street intersection will be set back by 2 weeks after the worksite was flooded. Council says it needs to pump the water out and wait for the ground to dry so machinery can be used again. It will then restart relaying the road base. Pitching new ideas to your local council may seem daunting for some, but not for one Port Lincoln teenager. After noticing a lack of access to public drinking water, Charlie Watt pitched a plan in her very own deputation to council.
A young mind with bright ideas for the community.
So we went to Adelaide in the recent holidays and we saw a lot of water fountains just spread around Adelaide. And I said to my mum, why don't we have one in Lincoln?
She had this wonderful idea. She said that there's not a drinking fountain in town and the poor dogs haven't got anywhere to drink, and that what could she do about putting a drinking fountain there.
So 13-year-old Charlie got to work on a speech for a deputation to council.
She did a marvellous job, very persuasive, very well researched, knew what it was going to cost, had come up with solutions about how she was going to fund it, and it was just one of those presentations that you just say, wow, can't wait till this person turns 18 so she can stand for council.
However, it turns out she wasn't the only one with the idea.
Coincidentally, and not known at the time to either Charlie or myself, SA Water had been thinking along the same lines, And so within 2 weeks of Charlie's presentation, there's a drinking fountain installed.
But that isn't stopping Charlie from continuing her fundraising campaign to install more across town.
I still want to keep going because I think there should be more water fountains in Lincoln, because not everyone can afford to buy a bottle of water on hot days.
Casey Trelaw, Southern Cross News.
A young Broken Hill entrepreneur has taken over a local cafe and given it a new name. Dylan Stone turned 21 today and celebrated his birthday by serving up coffees and croissants.
No time for birthday wishes. It's all about providing service with a smile for this young business owner.
I'm pretty happy with how things are working out so far.
Dylan has recently taken over the cafe formerly known as Lana's, opening the doors for the first time this week.
I got a phone call a couple of weeks ago that Cafe Lana's was up for sale again and if I'd be interested. So we've very quickly negotiated a good price and we've bought it.
When it came to changing the name, he managed to work in his own personal touch and the town's mining history.
It had a certain ring to it. I thought Stones on Argent. It sounded very professional, but it's also got that homely feel as well of Broken Hill, and that's what we're after.
The cafe's former managers are on deck to help Dylan get up to speed during his first week. After that, he'll be on his own, and he faces stiff competition on the city's main street. Over a dozen eateries are strewn across 4 blocks, several of which are cafes.
Some of our drinks that we're supplying you won't find anywhere else in Broken Hill, or you'll find in very little places. We've got our special cheese slaw, and there's a fair few items on our menu that I've never seen anywhere else in town.
Patrick Reinke, Southern Cross News.
Port Augusta's Mayor Sam Johnson has just returned from a visit to Canberra to meet with federal MPs. The Mayor was invited to tell Port Augusta's story regarding the closure of the power station as the federal government looks to reflect on its impact in future transition plans from coal-fired power to renewable energy.
It's pertinent that our national decision makers actually understand what happened here in Port Augusta so we don't make that same mistake twice.
He says the talk prompted some New South Wales MPs to offer to visit the region to talk to former employees and view some of the region's renewable energy projects. Still to come tonight, a Port Lincoln takeaway icon set to give back to the community. Details next. A Port Lincoln icon has changed hands with a new focus on supporting the public. The local community house purchased the fish and chip shop and wasted no time in getting to work today with some of its newest employees.
Fast food loved by the community, now owned by the community.
For the last over 3 years, Community House has actually had in their strategic business plan to purchase a business for sustainability, but also to put back to the community.
While some previous employees will stay, the popular takeaway outlet has already provided new employment to those in need.
Hired 3 unemployed people immediately, but luckily we've been able to keep on 2 of the staff, one being the owner-operator of 20 years.
Ms Davies says with the support of locals continuing to buy the much-loved fish and chips, profits will be converted into future community projects.
There's so many things that the public want, and we could work with, I don't know, basketball courts, all sorts of things for youth, another homeless house.
Community House looked at numerous different businesses to purchase, but the pantry was an opportunity too good not to miss.
It's an icon in Port Lincoln. It's been in the community for so many years, so who better to own it than the community?
Casey Trelaw, Southern Cross News.
Local cricket clubs across far west New South Wales are being encouraged to apply for state funding. A $6 million legacy cricket fund has been set up, aiming to bolster the sport in regional communities.
$6 million for grassroots cricket? How's that?
It's a generous process. Should be good for cricket.
Cricket clubs and associations are being encouraged to apply for funding for the upcoming 2020 ICC World T20 Legacy Fund. $6 million has been allocated for projects which support cricket participation and benefit the whole community.
Our biggest issue here at the moment in Broken Hill is the heat that we seem to be getting during the summer. We'd love to get lighting out at the Alma Oval as well. which would enable us to play a fair percentage of our cricket, particularly after Christmas, in the night time.
But there is a catch. Projects of up to $250,000 will only be funded up to half of the cost.
Whatever you put in, the grant's prepared to match, and that would make it very difficult for our league because our funds are fairly limited. Basically, any revenue generated from for the cricket league is put in by the clubs.
But the thought of applying for funding may not be bowled over just yet. Local councils can also apply.
So there may be an avenue where council could work in with the cricket league and actually getting those facilities.
Applications for the first round of funding closes in July. Council was contacted for comment. Patrick Reinke, Southern Cross News.
14 girls basketball teams from across New South Wales have converged on Broken Hill this week. They're here for the annual Primary School Sports Association Girls Basketball Championships. Local girls from the Far West region are playing for the Barrier District.
So from here we'll pick a New South Wales primary team in later in the year. They'll go off to Darwin and represent New South Wales there at the School Sport Australia Championships in Darwin.
Day 2 gets underway tomorrow with finals held on Thursday. Time now for a wrap-up of all the sport from across the region. Garth Burley is in Port Augusta and Garth, the local netball team, continued its winning streak.
Fraser Railways have continued to hold first place in the Port Augusta comp with a 33-point win against Magpies. And St Joseph's won in a competitive match against the Vikings. To Whyalla, and YCW will be looking for something to keep their season alive after another loss against the Warriors. And Kiwi extended their run at the top with a win against True Blue. 3 sides are now equal in second place after this weekend's 5th round of Port Lincoln netball. A loss to Imperial and wins to both Souths and Whyalla Rangers means for and against is the only thing separating the sides. In Perry, victories to Solomon Town and Blue Wren, with the Wren's Kirby Simmons named Player of the Week. To Silver City Soccer, West defeated St Joe's by a goal and Celtic netted 2 against Alma. In Port Perry, Savoy scored 5 in a high-scoring away win against Adelaide, Croatia, while in the State League, the Northern Demons went down 2-0 to Playford City. In round 8 of Whyalla Soccer, Croatia dominated Westlands United, winning 6-0, while in the other match, Wanderers sneaked away with a victory by a goal. Port Lincoln saw 2 one-sided affairs, with Seacole Masters turning it on in the second half to overcome South Coast 6-1. And in the second game, the Raiders put a Knights team to the sword, with an 8-0 drubbing. Now for a change of pace with some veterans golf results. The annual triangular Stableford competition was played at Warrabra last Tuesday, with the Northern York Peninsula taking out the crown with an aggregate score of 36.75 over the Mid-North and Northern. Great to see all those participants getting out and about on the greens, and good to see people of all ages are enjoying their sport around the regions. And remember, if you have some local sports results that you would like featured on Southern Cross News, email us at localsport@sea.com.au. Fraser?
Thanks, Garth. Garth Burley in Port Augusta there. We'll stay with us after the break. We'll have all the local weather details with Amy Stevenson. And Amy, after a wet start to the week, some parts of the Gulf saw some sun.
That's right, Fraser. Although some areas still needed their brollies today, the sun is going to make a return. All the details are next. Welcome back. Maximum sat in the high teens around most centres today with fine conditions and a top of 19 in Port Augusta and Whyalla. Meanwhile, Port Lincoln saw some showers while thunderstorms cleared in Broken Hill. Checking the satellite now, and a cold front is generating showers and thunderstorms in the southeast. Low cloud along the west coast is also causing rain. Meanwhile, skies are clear in the north under high pressure. If you're out on the waters tomorrow, expect southwesterly winds up to 15 knots, but do take care with seas reaching 3 metres. Sunrise is at 7:14, while it will set at 19 past 5. Looking at tomorrow's forecast, and conditions will continue to fine up around most districts. A sunny 18 expected in Port Augusta, Whyalla reaching 17, while cloudy skies will stick around in Port Lincoln. Heading into the weekend, and Port Lincoln could see some possible showers on Saturday after a mostly sunny week. A cloudy Saturday forecast for Cleve and Woodner, with maximum sitting in the high teens to low 20s. Mostly sunny in Whyalla for the rest of the weekend, with temperatures reaching 19. Port Augusta will also warm up a little towards the end of the week, while Kadina will see some sunny days and a top of 18. A run of fine days in Port Perry with a top of 19 on Saturday. Slightly cooler in Clare with maximum of 17 on Friday. Meanwhile, in Broken Hill, temperatures will sit in the mid to high teens in the coming days and into the weekend. So Fraser, although we have seen some showers, it's looking like the Spencer Gulf can expect some sunshine in the coming days.
Thanks, Amy. And that's Southern Cross News for this Tuesday. Thanks for your company. Good night.